Hey, what's going on, family? Welcome to your Monday night live stream. Where on this live stream, we are talking about Charlotte. I've coined it the Charlotte Insider. And we talk about Charlotte, we talk about real estate and just what's happening in and around the area. And on this week, we're going to talk about a few topics. We're going to talk about a range of topics that are shaping the Queen City. Charlotte's rapid growth, the vibrant culture, depending on who you ask, real estate trends, and also important funding updates regarding the schools and everything that's taking place in our city or in our area here in Charlotte, plus some handy tax season tips. So whether you're a longtime Charlottean or new to the area, please stay tuned for insights on how our city's future is looking. And as always, you are invited to join the conversation, leave some comments, put on where you're watching from, how long you've been in the area, if you're in the area, or when you plan on moving to the area. I always enjoy just engaging with you all. You actually give me vigor to continue doing this every single week. And share your thoughts. If you think I'm off base regarding a topic, by all means, I want to have that discussion. But please let it be respectful. Let's have that discussion. Also, those of you who don't know me, I am Sir Ashley. I am a real estate advisor. I've been in real estate over a decade as an attorney, an investor, and a licensed agent in both North and South Carolina. And I like helping people. I like educating regarding what's going on. I run a real estate brokerage, one of the partners that run a real estate brokerage. And again, we're just dedicated to helping you all, the public, stay informed about what's happening in and around the area. First, please go ahead, hit that like button, share this with friends, colleagues, let them know what we're doing here. And let's jump into it. Let's talk about Charlotte's growth. Charlotte continues to have remarkable growth. I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago that there's 117 people every single day moving to the Charlotte area. And right now, the city's population stands at just over 911,000. So it is solidly the 15th most populous city in the United States, according to the recent census data. And it grew 1.7% within the last year and a half. And that means about 16,000 people every single year or in the past year. 1 second here. Now, what makes Charlotte one of the fastest growing cities or large cities here in our country is a couple of things. One is this in the Sun Belt. That brings a lot of opportunities. We're not on the coast, so we don't have to really worry about the crazy inclement weather, such as the hurricanes if you go over by Wilmington or Myrtle Beach or Charleston. The jobs, we have several Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies right here in the greater Charlotte area. But we also, let's talk about challenges. We have challenges as far as our infrastructure and keeping services up. What changes have you all noticed if you've been here in the Charlotte area? What changes have you noticed regarding the landscape, the demographics? What have you noticed? Me personally, I've moved to this area first. When I first moved here, it was in 2010. I've left a couple times. But when I first moved here, what has changed dramatically is South Charlotte. South Charlotte, Still Creek area was nothing like it is right now. It was very industrial. And you still see pockets of that as you go down South Tryon or Shopton, whatnot. But right now, it is booming. You have tons of businesses, restaurants, community subdivisions that just did not exist 15 years ago. Another thing is Huntersville. Huntersville's changed dramatically in the past 15 years. I remember it wasn't barren by any means, but it didn't have all of Brighton. It did have Birkdale Village, but it wasn't as flushed out as it is right now. The part of Huntersville, what's going on, Vivian? Thank you for tuning in. When are y'all coming in town? I know we talked, but come on, y'all need to hurry on up. Let's go. Let's go. Uh, so come on, love to have you. And let me take this off right here real quick. So that has changed drastically. But what also has changed is the part of Huntersville between Huntersville and Concord. Huntersville, was it Concord, Huntersville Road, or whatever? That has changed tremendously. That used to be not farmland, but very barren. But that road is now has luxury houses, like anywhere from 700,000 to 1.2, 1.3 million. Whereas that was not the case. If you bought that land, you might have been able to buy significant acres for 100,000 when I first moved here in 2010. And Gaston County has blown up. Think in particular Gastonia, you have Mount Holly, Belmont, McLean, that community right on the border, well, in Belmont, right on the water, that didn't exist. And now you have all the amenities, Drift, that restaurant, and then the amenities over in Lake Wiley didn't exist. So it really has transformed drastically. And if anybody is watching that has been in the area, what have you noticed? What's the biggest difference you've noticed in the past 5, 10, 15 years? Obviously, the big one is traffic. Traffic has picked up, but any city where you have an increased population and infrastructure is a challenge. You're going to have issues regarding traffic and commute times. Oh man, one of the biggest ones, the skyline in Uptown Charlotte. I was in a I was in the art studio, art store, framing store about a couple weeks ago. Week ago now. And there was a piece that highlighted what Charlotte looked like. I don't even know when. It looked like the picture looked like maybe early 90s. And then there was another picture that shows the skyline of Charlotte now or a couple years ago. And it has changed dramatically, the skyline here in the Charlotte area. What's going on, Brian? Thank you for tuning in from Ballantyne. How long have you been in Ballantyne? Because when I first moved here, I moved to Ballantyne. And because when you're doing your research, you're like, what is the best place? And I wanted to be safe and all that. I moved to Ballantyne. And Ballantyne Bowl obviously was not there. Because fairly new within the last 12 months, actually. It just fully opened this past fall. The LA Fitness, everything over there on that side of 45 was not there. You also, what was there was, I can't think of the name of the shopping center, but not shopping center, but the complex where Superior School of Real Estate is. You have a few restaurants, a wine bar. Why am I drawing a blank at this intersection? You've been here for 2 years? Okay. So Ballantyne Bowl is fairly new for you. But you haven't seen the drastic changes. Wait, were you here when Ballantyne Bowl was a golf course? They changed that tremendously. What else has happened? The casino out west. Sorry, let me see where I'm at here. Where's my cursor? Okay. Because I talk about that because I want to talk about Charlotte's culture. And I study history. I love history. I just picked up books regarding the Fort Mill history and culture and what has happened in Fort Mill and the changes. But people that come here are a little sometimes confused as far as the culture in Charlotte. And me, I see the art scene, the different museums, and I can drive around the different neighborhoods and see the historic parts of it. But if you're new to the area, you just see at least this is what I'm hearing, like a whitewashed version of Charlotte, whereas you just see the new restaurants, the new structures, the new buildings, and think Charlotte really doesn't have any identity, any cultural identity. Bryant Jackson, what is your take on that? How have you felt about that? because I can just name a few things that if you just go out and explore, Google is your friend. There's tons of cultural events and different things happening right here in Charlotte. As Brian says, we came right after construction started behind the hotel, most definitely. Okay, so you saw it change. You saw it change a little bit. Um, so I'm over here wondering why my mouse isn't working. So you have the Mint Museum, you have the Gantt Center uptown, and throughout the city, you have these cultural spots, these different art studios, museums, where it is truly a treasure. I'm thinking of one African American museum in North Charlotte. I'm drawing a blank right now, but a nice time, nice vibe. Check that out. You also have the Comedy Center or Comedy Club, Comedy Zone, right? And the Music Factory. Now, Music Factory, you don't know what's going to be there year by year, but it's always something nice. It's always something you can go check out. Um, what is the, I need y'all help in the chat. The place in Noda, Fillmore. You have Fillmore where artists come and you get a nice vibe as far as it's very, very intimate, right? This is a performing arts establishment, but you have a very intimate feel. Whereas sometimes they go to the Bojangles Coliseum or the Spectrum Center, and it's just that's huge, right? You don't really get to have that intimate feel and feel like you're, I don't know, when you're in the Fillmore, it's like you're experiencing that event with just close friends. And then we have Middle C Jazz. Now, Vivian and Chris loves Middle C Jazz. When they come down, they can make sure they visit Middle C Jazz. I was actually, I'm trying to think. I was across from Middle C Jazz just a few weeks ago, not a couple weeks ago. It's a nice vibe. It's a nice vibe. And there's always cultural festivals here happening. If you're looking at an East Boulevard, every month there's some kind of cultural festival on East Boulevard. So please check that out. Uh, yes, you love Middle C. I know, I know. You got to get Chris playing in there. Uh, Local art shows, festivities. My main point is there's tons of culture. You just have to look for it a little bit. And when I mean look for it, I'm not saying you have to do a deep dive. Just Google, right? Now, if you're just out traveling the city, you may not find it. You don't know where to look because it's not as apparent as if you're in certain cities. You have Chinatown, Koreatown, like depending on, I'm thinking of LA, I'm thinking of DC, where you have the different cultural centers in the city already established. You really don't have that here in Charlotte where those cultural areas are already established, but throughout the city in any given time of the month, you can find that. Now you do have to plan it, but you can find it in every given month. You're not going to find it any given night like you would when I lived in LA or lived in DC, but if you plan ahead, you can definitely do it. Portia, the Fillmore is next to the Underground and Music Factory. Great place for small artists, most definitely. Good place for small artists. I even seen some, well, I guess they're small now. I was thinking of artists that I grew up watching and listening to now playing at the Fillmore because I guess they're not, well, not guess, they're not as big as they were, when I was growing up. Now I want to talk about two things as far as, sorry, let me take this off. Real estate trends. And I touched on it a little bit, but it's something that I have to, a little bit in the past couple of weeks, where I just have to highlight and just bring to your attention because I talk to people every single day and I hear from my agents. They talk to people every single day about just how competitive it is, even though it appears slower, right? And people getting priced out and getting pushed out a little further than what they had initially thought or wanted to be. I don't know how to say it clear enough. Charlotte market is still a seller's market. It's still quote unquote a hot market. Now, is it red hot as it was during COVID? Nowhere in the country for the most part is that red hot. But you don't see any dips in home prices. And depending on where you're looking to buy, there's high demand and homes are going very quickly with multiple offers. In fact, the median home price in 2020, January 2025 was up 2.4% from the previous year. Now that's a healthy growth. It's not the 16% like it was during COVID. I think a healthy price increase per year is anywhere from 2 to, let's say, 4, maybe 5 is pushing it. That's healthy. So 2.4 is good. It's on the lower end, but it's one of those things to where 425, we talk about it being affordable, but then you have to ask the question, who is it affordable for? And that's the tough one for me, because I hear a lot of people saying that's not affordable, especially with the interest rates where they are, because they are higher than they were in years past. Well, last year they're the same rate, but in years past. But I know people don't want to hear this. Historically, they're right where they've been, the historical average, 6.8, 6.9, past 30 years, that's where they've been. It's just that we've been spoiled during COVID to see rates in the twos very briefly, threes much longer, fours much longer. We've been spoiled with that and think that that's the norm. And in reality, it's not. However, people don't want to hear that. And then two is when you hear the price of 425 and around the Charlotte area, the median price is around 413, the greater Charlotte area. And yes, that is still affordable, but again, affordable for who? Because the locals, people that have been here for a significant amount of time, they're like, that's not affordable for us, because they were here in 2010 when home prices were 180. And unfortunately, they didn't buy then because it wasn't affordable. And yes, incomes have increased, wages have increased, but they're saying not enough. But then you have people moving to the Charlotte area, again, 117 people every single day, and 15th most populous city in our country. And it's expected to, I saw an article, somebody sent it to me today. Where is it? Yeah, by 2030, North Carolina's population, not Charlotte's, but North Carolina's population is supposed to hit 11.7 million. But the people that are moving here with, I'm not here to pick on you, Vivian and Chris, or Brian, or any of my other clients that move here, but they're moving here with the salary of where they came from, right? And so they're either working remotely, or again, we have a lot of Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies coming or here. So they're moving here for these very high paying jobs, and they see 425 as, or 413 is very affordable, because where they move from, I'm trying to think what 425 could get you in DC. Maybe a 1-bedroom condo, maybe, and that's pushing it. But you can get a whole 3-4 bedroom home in the Charlotte area for 425, and in Charlotte, not even Charlotte area, for 425. And they're like, so no, that's very affordable. And they're selling their single family homes or homes from elsewhere in the country. Example, I have a client that went to an inspection today. They sold their home in another part of the country for over $1 million, well over $1 million. They're coming here, buying a very nice home, beautiful home, but they're paying less than $1 million, to where people locally are going to be like, man, that's an expensive home. That's crazy. But they're actually saving money, right? So that's just a real life example earlier today, to where locals don't feel like it's affordable, right? But then the outside world, or people that aren't from Charlotte, are like, man, this is a steal for what we get for this dollar. So my advice to people that live here locally is to do what's necessary, And I'm gonna give you some tips and stuff like that coming up to get on the property ladder to where you can take advantage of that price upswing, right? You're not the one that are subjected to wanting to buy, but then you can't afford because the prices went up. If you own it, you get to take advantage of that equity, right? And one of the ways we can do so is strategic planning. And how we can do so is it's tax season. It is tax refund season. And I want to do a couple videos. Shout out to Double E for giving me some tips on topics to talk about. And not just in this video, but videos I'm gonna do like full breakdowns on the housing market and tax season and what sellers should be looking for, what buyers should be looking for or doing during this time. But before I can film it this week. I don't know when it's going to be prepared and edited and everything like that, but I will get that out to you hopefully within the next couple of weeks. But today, strategically using your tax refund, not on a vacation. Well, I understand it's been a stressful 2024, and with everything going on in the world right now, with the tariff starting tomorrow, with we'll touch on it a little later, with funding being cut and possibly 2,100 CMS workers being without a job. It's stressful. So vacation might be right on top of your mind, like I need to escape. But no, let's use that money toward a down payment, paying down some debt, getting your credit up. And we can talk about and strategize it to where, okay, your credit isn't perfect. Join the club, right? But there's ways in which, hey, you need to get to a 640. I have partners and colleagues that put you in contact with, and they will tell you exactly what you need to pay on and how much you need to pay to raise your score 20 points, to raise your score 30 points. So I've had people within 45 days go from, I don't want to say 580, it was like 600 to 645, 650. Now, you can buy a house with 580, but then your interest rate is a little higher, right? And you got to typically come more out of pocket and stuff like that. We don't want that for you. Let me put you in contact with some professionals to guide you to how you can get your credit score to where it needs to be so you can have a lower interest rate. My brother Brian, there's an older brother and sister relocating here from California. They are retirement age and selling their homes. Exactly. So when they sell their home, and I don't even know what part of California, but let's just assume that it's an expensive part of California, whether it's Los Angeles, San Diego, you have the Bay, you have even Sacramento. Sacramento is crazy right now as well, or has been. I haven't checked Sacramento in about a year and a half. Shout out to my client Matt. Him and his wife live out there. But when they sell it, they gonna have the possibility to buy here cash and live very comfortably, right? Whereas they have cheaper property taxes here. The dollar just goes further. So shout out to, actually have your family reach out to us. Love to help, love to be of assistance. But it's just one of those things that we have to be cautious of and aware that people are moving here and they're using their dollars to go a lot further. But back to the tax refund. I'm not saying don't have fun. Have fun, but let's have fun in a home that you own as opposed to a home that you're renting, right? Because rent for single family homes are definitely increasing. Now apartments, they're pretty much staying status quo. They're projected to go up, but I haven't seen those numbers just yet. So when they do change, if they do show that apartments or condos or townhouses rent will go up, I'll present that to you. But right now they're staying pretty consistent. But rent on single family homes are increasing. We have B. Newman with a question or a statement saying, I'll be moving to Charlotte. All the properties I would consider are probably start about 750 and up. Can't find anything around 500. I guess it's because I want a basement. Now that is true. Basement homes So if you've been looking for basements, if some you have, but other people, I come from up north. I'm from Rochester, New York. Every home had a basement. It just was par for the course. Then when I lived in DC, every row house or whatever that I lived in had a basement. It was just typical. Here, of every 100 homes, you may have 5 or 6 that have a basement. So it's very rare. And most basements, not most, all basements that I'm aware of here in the Carolinas are walkout basements. They're built into the side of a hill. So the basements are really half basements. So the front of the home is, side of the hill. They excavate that, dig it out, and then you have a walkout basement to where you walk out to your backyard. And reason why basement homes cost so much is because of the clay. The red clay here in the Carolinas, it just takes so much and so costly to excavate that. And then I'm thinking of a community, The Hills by KB Homes in Huntersville. Recently had a not recently, probably 6 months ago, had a delay in construction because they went to go build and get the pads ready and everything like that. And they had several basement lots. They hit granite. So it took forever. You don't know what's going to be in that red clay. So with that said, that raised the prices because it costs them more money on those homes. So if you think about it, I tell people you can have the same exact floor plan, but there could be a story up, like a third story up, versus a third story down, which is a basement. The basement home is going to be about $100,000 more. So that 750 home, if it wasn't a basement, if it was just a 3-story up, would be about 600 to 650, and it's because of the clay, red clay. Now, reach out to me. Definitely reach out to me, because I need to just go ahead and put out the video. I went around, and because a lot of people reach out about basements, I went around and there's 4 different communities I looked at, and they're basement communities with basement homes, and they range in price. And I'm talking about in nice areas that people like with good schools and all that. We're talking about Huntersville. We're talking about Tegakay. Talking about Fort Mill. And where's the fourth one? I believe it was in Davidson. But one community actually had basement homes at the time when I filmed it. This was in December. I don't know if the price increase has happened or anything like that. I haven't checked on the home. For $627, I believe, right around $627, $630 for a basement home. And the basement was fully finished. Whereas if you've been looking at basement homes in new construction, a lot of the basement homes that we offer in this area, they come partially finished, meaning the plumbing, the rough plumbing is done, but there's no drywall, there's no insulation. But this community that I'm thinking of, fully complete basement. I think it was like a 6-bedroom home, maybe 7, but definitely 6-bedroom home, at least 4 bathrooms, for $630. Now, probably it was in December, so we're probably looking at $640, $645 right now, but still significantly less than the $750. So reach out to me. Love to see if that would be a good fit for you. It's also the time of year employees receive their annual raise and bonuses that can be used toward down payment. Thank you, Viv. I appreciate that. Actually saw an article. Lowe's is stationed or headquartered here in the Charlotte area, Mooresville. And I'm not sure if you all saw this article, but the CEO, as opposed to taking, most people when they have a profit, they do a buyback, share buyback. They did very well this past year, Lowe's. So they gave all the employees, talking about in the shops, not the desk and the people in the office buildings, but in the shops, I believe it was a $10,000 bonus. So that was quite amazing. So yes, this is that time to use that $10,000 and don't go on vacation. Let's I'm thinking of a Seinfeld episode of Vacation from Ourselves, to where they just stayed at home. Yeah, do a vacation to yourself, to where you buy your own home and just stay in your home. And then you can use that money for, obviously you can use your tax refund for your down payment. You can use the bonus to toward new furniture, whatever it may be, right? Or buy down the interest rate. So yeah, definitely you could use that. Thank you for that. I totally forgot about that. But that is one of the strategies that I believe we need to utilize, because prices in the Charlotte area, I'm sorry, whoever told you, and I'm not here to knock anybody, but I heard another real estate YouTuber agent for the last, during COVID, and then even after COVID, talking about prices were going to drop 20, 30%. And people like watched it and listened and waited. And again, I'm not mad at him. What I am mad at is that people relied on that information, and it led people astray. And people that could have bought at that time. I have clients that could have bought, or past prospective clients, they were clients, but they decided not to move forward because they're like, no, prices are going to drop, and various things like that, because they're listening to these people. And when I talk to you, am I going to be the most articulate? Absolutely not. Am I going to be the most, am I going to paint the best picture, as flowery as I could? I'm not going to do that. It's my job to deliver you the data, right? I'm not here to scare you or to sell you a dream, but it's to give you the data, but then also how I interpret the data based on me being in the field every single day, actually helping people buy, sell, invest, and then also having a team behind me that allows me to see their data and what they're seeing, and inform you all, right? So I'm not going to tell you, hey, prices are going to crash. I'm not going to tell you something that I just don't believe is going to happen. And if you ask me, he saw the same data, and based on, I don't see how you can see the data that he was seeing and think that prices were going to crash, but for views on YouTube, right? And scaring people. But sorry, I get off my soapbox, but it pains me because one of my clients, or past prospective clients, could have been a client, ended up not buying, had a perfect opportunity right on the border of Huntersville and North Carolina, in a community, and new construction. They're about to go into contract, and they didn't. They didn't. And then I talked to them 6 months later, and anything that they wanted that was even comparable to that home, they couldn't afford. They couldn't afford. And what pains me is because I know how hard they work to be in a position to buy a home. And they had the perfect home for them, but they were listening to the wrong people. And now they're renting, and the rent has increased several times since then. And they're still not in a position to buy a home. They can buy a home, don't get me wrong, but not something that checks off the majority of their boxes for their family. And I don't want anybody like that to be, I don't want anybody else to experience that. I don't want anybody else to experience that. So surround yourself with advisors that have your best interest and can dissect the data and articulate it in a fashion that is accurate and true, and not just for show, right? But sorry, again, I'm just passionate about that because I know what it was like. My mom could have bought a home when I was 12 years old. I'm dating myself. When I was 12 years old, it was actually a duplex in Rochester, New York. She could have bought it for 20,000, and she didn't, because of just people, wrong advice, right? She was taking advice from people that never owned a home, never owned a home, didn't have any real financial literacy, didn't have anything. She was taking advice from them, whereas it was 20,000, and it was a duplex, right? We were already living in one side of it. The landlord was like, "Hey, I'm gonna sell it. You got first opportunity," right? So we were already paying the mortgage, and then the other side would have been profit. So not only would you have been living there for free, technically, you have the equity and whatnot on top of it. Yes, there's taxes you have to be concerned about and everything like that, but please just surround yourself with solid people, because that is I experienced that firsthand. and I don't want anybody else to experience it. So when I have that client experience it, it definitely rubbed me the wrong way. Um, Now I want to talk about the CMS. Hold on, let's see if I can pull it up. CMS and the tariffs going into place. Well, before I talk about that, anybody comments, questions? Let's jump on. Um, Working with realtor, follow the channel. Sister's not working with local realtor. Thank you. I appreciate that. However I can help. And I'm glad they're following the channel because again, this is for everyone. I'm not here to gatekeep or hey, you only can have this information if you work with me. Now, with that said, people that work with me get a little bit more insight and everything real time. But I will I like to share. I like to share. Where are we at? CMS right now, Charlotte Mecklenburg School System. If you're unfamiliar with what CMS is, there is, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the government is cutting a lot of funding, right? And a lot of people were ecstatic about this cutting and let's do away with the waste and all that, which I'm cool with. Like as far as like we don't want to be wasteful with what we have, but one thing we're not realizing or fully appreciating is how these cuts can impact us, our day to day. I'm trying to pull up this article. Give me a second. Here we go. See if I can. So, loss of federal funds could spell a difficult CMS budget cycle. And we're talking about 2,100 jobs potentially at risk. And total, we're talking $2.1 million and 1.9 federal grant, and then another 200,000 being cut. So, as a friend recently just said, most people don't move to Charlotte proper for the schools, right? I get that. However, the people that are in Charlotte and have kids going to schools, one, it's very hard to find teachers anyway, right? And especially teachers that are passionate and just passionate about what they do. It's very hard to find teachers. And we're talking about, we already don't pay them enough in North and South Carolina. We're about what, $42,000 a year. And if COVID taught us anything, they deserve to make probably double that. Because I don't know about you, I had one school-age child at the time, and COVID was awful. It was online learning was a challenge every single day. So it just showed me, highlighted the importance of teachers every single day. But we're talking about cutting funding, cutting grant money, and that is significant if we lose teachers and lose different programs to where no, Charlotte Mecklenburg school system is not the beacon on a hill, but it is improving. It wants to be better. And it's very hard to do so with less money. So we just have to be aware and cautious of, again, repercussions of our actions and who we elect and local officials, federal officials. We need to be just aware of what's happening. But also, I'm not sure if you all are aware, there was recently, late last year, announcement of a grant for educators in the area, in North Carolina, not just the area. And this kind of like spits in their face because, okay, a grant so we can buy a house, but now we might not even have a job to be able to pay for this house, to be able to support our family. And a lot of the people in CMS, the teachers, can't afford to live in Charlotte proper. They have to live elsewhere, have to live in Gaston County, in Cabarrus County. I can't say Iredell, but I'm sure there's people that live in Iredell County. So, oh man, David, yes, still has nightmares about remote learning. And you worked at a school during that time. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But we want to make sure we are thinking of those that are overlooked. And in my case, in my opinion, I think teachers are very overlooked, and they're not rewarded or thanked enough. And we're over here talking about, not even talking about, the cuts are already taking effect. Um, so it's a lot of scary days to where you want our teachers to be feeling secure and educating the future, the youth. But yet, they're worried about their bills. They're worried about them if they're going to have a job, right? Are there any school districts of substance in the Charlotte area? That Yes, there are. Let me put that back up. Vivian, I'll get to your question in 1 second. In the Charlotte, so before we get to the Charlotte area, there is a triangle, because before I moved to Fort Mill TK, I was looking at this triangle. There's a triangle in Charlotte that has excellent schools, and the triangle is in between Arboretum, Mint Hill, and like that area where Providence High School is, where the schools there are amazing. Property values are amazing. Schools are amazing. So you have that school district, school area in Charlotte. We're talking about public schools. Now, in that area, you have tons of private schools, Charlotte Catholic and all those, Charlotte Christian. But talking public schools, you have a little pocket there that are amazing for public schools. But in the Charlotte area, one, you have tons of great charter schools. If you don't mind having your kids commute or you bring them to school, in the area. Now you have some subpar charter schools, but it's like anywhere, right? But you have some very good ones. And but you're talking about overall school districts that are public in the Charlotte area. Mint Hill is amazing for elementary and middle school. Now high school is a little subpar. You have, I believe, Butler, maybe Independence, I think, is a little subpar. But elementary and middle school, Bain Elementary, people move to Mint Hill, one for the culture, and I'm over here thinking about you, Semper, but also the schools. The schools are very highly rated, and that draws a lot of people to Mint Hill. Matthews, areas of Matthews and Stallings. Stallings is right outside of Matthews. Very good schools. And then you have up north, Davidson has good schools, and different parts of Huntersville, depending on where you live in Huntersville. Huntersville is very expansive. So you have tons of schools in Huntersville, and Lake Norman Charter is one of the charter schools I'm thinking of that excellent track record regarding schooling. And there we go. That's right, Mint Hill. Actually, and I don't know the answer to this question. Most times I only ask questions that I know the answer to, but I'm feeling froggy. How has your experience been with the Mint Hill schools, Bain Elementary, with your kids? Would you recommend it? Would you not recommend it? Again, I don't. You're in there every day. I'm reading things. I get to see reports, but you deal with it. So what do you say? And then you have York County, and I talk about Fort Mill and TK schools being absolutely amazing. They are top 4% in the country public schools, but recently, even better is Lake Wiley and Clover. Their schools, and again, that's still York County in South Carolina. Their schools are even better than Fort Mill and TK. So right across the border, yes, you're in South Carolina, not North Carolina, but amazing schools. People are flocking to Clover and Lake Wiley just for the schools. So much to where they put a building moratorium on Lake Wiley because too many people were coming in that area. David, I asked about Bain Elementary, Mint Hill. Says definitely recommend. 2 of his 3 kids go there. Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you for that. So those are areas that are very good regarding the schools here. And there we go. Last year and this year voted best elementary school in Charlotte. Yeah. So again, that's what I hear. I have several clients moving to that area just for the schools, just for those schools. So that does it regarding elementary or schooling in the great school districts or good school districts in the Charlotte area. Trying to think if I'm forgetting something. Gaston County has pockets, and I feel guilty because I'm lumping all of Gaston County together. Cramerton has some very good schools. That's right next to Mount Holly and Belmont. Cramerton has some very good schools. So forgive me, those of you in Gaston County and Gastonia, I just put you all together. But I'm trying to think where else in Gaston County has great schools. Even parts of Gastonia, depending on where you are in Gastonia, has some good schools. And I actually helped out. This is a private school, so it's not public, but actually helped out the basketball team at Gaston Day very briefly when I practiced law. Um, that curriculum was absolutely amazing, and the school there too. But it was a public school, but you can get scholarships and whatnot. Just see what's available for your kid and for you when looking at schools. Vivian, where is the river area? I've heard it's very nice. Our gated communities in the river area. So the river district. We talked about this maybe a month ago. It is West Charlotte, west south southwest. Yeah, Southwest Charlotte. Um, River District, it is very nice. Um, I'm trying to think. You have Toll Brothers, I believe, there, and actually they started building. They're selling homes. Actually, I got an email. They're starting selling already. They haven't completed anything. Now the lots are going to be smaller. Vivian, are you familiar? You're familiar with Birkdale Village, correct? In Huntersville, it's going to be a modern Birkdale Village. In a sense to where you have higher end shops, higher end restaurants, and then it's almost like a live work area. You have office space and all that, but you're gonna have tons of you are familiar with Birkdale Village. You're also gonna have tons of housing, single family houses and townhouses. They're not going to be, as far as I'm aware, in the renderings, not going to have a gated community in that area, but it is going to be beautiful. And as of right now, okay, as of a couple of weeks ago, because I haven't looked at recent offerings, but as of a couple of weeks ago, it was affordable. We're talking 500, and I say 500 affordable because I can see prices in the River District easily getting to 6, 7 in no time. So, because people have been talking about the River District for the past 4 years, and it's just been a delay. But yeah, no, that's going to be a very nice area. You're going to have access to South Charlotte, to Still Creek. You're going to have access to Mount Holly, the U.S. National Whitewater Center. Barbara, it's all right. I started late anyway, so you're good. I had a phone call, impromptu call, and I was trying to get off of it, but business has to still get done. I can't think of anything else right now regarding the River District. I will do, actually, what I can do now. You have to hold me accountable to actually put it to share with everyone because I have tons of footage in different locations that just the world haven't seen. But I don't mind going there and seeing, like doing a tour of what the River District is right now and sharing with you what the plans are and what's going to happen. I can do that. Actually, I can do that this week. It's just about getting it produced and putting it out for you. But Vivian, you asked about it, just like those homes in Cheryl's Ford that I filmed that just the rest of the YouTube hasn't seen. If you reach out to me, I'll give you the raw copy of it, and then you can see it and get an idea of what's happening. I'm B. Newman. I love Charlotte. One of my fears is the city's changing, not for the better. Atlanta was there. I remember Atlanta was there, was where everyone wanted to live. Now Atlanta is horrible. Does anyone see this happening to Charlotte? That's a legitimate fear. legitimate fear. And I've talked to people in Atlanta. I've talked to people here, and actually, yeah. And I think the biggest difference between the two is what's drawing people to the area. In Atlanta, at least now, I can't say for the early 90s. I remember going visiting my cousins um, in Buckhead in the early 90s. But now, or at least in the last 10 years, what drew people to Atlanta was entertainment, a lot of entertainment stuff, industry. In the Charlotte area, what's bringing people here is the Fortune 500 companies. You have healthcare, you have energy, you have banking. So it's a different demographic here that's bringing people to the area. So I don't see it becoming a mini Atlanta or another Atlanta in that aspect. But one thing I do fear is the infrastructure. Now, Atlanta's traffic, if you've been to Atlanta or whatever, you know, it's awful, no matter what time of day. Charlotte isn't that bad. It's not awful, depending on what time of day. And even when people complain about Charlotte traffic, and I am guilty of complaining about Charlotte traffic, when you compare it to Atlanta, LA, DC, it's not bad. It's just when you compare it to 10 years ago in Charlotte, it feels bad. I can still get pretty much everywhere in 30 to 40 minutes, even with traffic, and you're moving in traffic. In certain metros, and in Atlanta, I'm thinking I was in Atlanta not last fall, 18 months ago. I had to drive 5 miles, and it took 50 minutes. I couldn't go anywhere. We weren't going anywhere on the highway. It really was bumper to bumper, and you weren't moving. Charlotte isn't that bad. I don't see it happening or getting that bad. But my fear is if they don't do anything about the infrastructure, um, eventually, could it get that bad? Even though I don't see it, yeah, possibility, yes. There are a lot of changes and things happening regarding the transit here in the Charlotte area. And actually, it was one of the topics that I was going to talk about in this video, but I took it out because I've talked about the transit line several times. But when you look at what's happening, what's in the news in Charlotte, the transit changing and infrastructure changes and proposed changes is top of mind. But I didn't want to talk about the same thing that you've heard 3 weeks ago. Barbara says people are moving to the South and North Carolina because they're building and owning the land. Most definitely. Most definitely. So people that want to do so, I say look at own land, have larger lots and all that. Obviously, you can go up north. You can go to Salisbury, Kannapolis, Concord. Actually, not really Kannapolis, maybe. But Cabarrus County is what I was trying to think. Rowan and Cabarrus County. You can go out further west where you have Gaston County, and then you have Cleveland County. Or you can come down south where you have York, parts of York. You got to go a little further because York County is blowing up. But further north in York County, further south in York County, but then Lancaster County. Chester is a city. I'll say city. I want to say town. I'll call y'all city. Lancaster, you can get significant lots of land and just hold it if you want to, because growth is happening. And if we've seen anything, as Charlotte grows, it expands out. And people that, I don't have to tell you, if you bought a lot in Charlotte 10 years ago for $4,000, because I have investor friends that have done that, you can develop it, right, if you want to, and build a house and sell it. Or I've seen them just sell those lots for $150, right? So you bought it for $4. Yes, you had to pay property taxes on it for over a decade or whatever, but you're selling it for $150 just for the quarter of an acre, 0.25. Do you know? Do I know what? But so you can, if you're looking for that, and I don't have a problem telling you, me and my partners, we bought some lots in Lancaster. South Carolina, and just holding on to it. If you look at what's happening in that area, you have True Homes, Edgewater community, absolutely beautiful. They have a 10-year build out. They've been there for 10 years. They have another 10-year build out. And we talk about a huge master plan community. That is it, with multiple golf courses and everything in the community. So we went ahead and bought lots not far from the community and just holding on to it. Like, do we want to build a house there possibly one day or whatever? Maybe. But at the very least, I mean, we'll be able to resell it at some point and flip it. Do I know of any great neighborhoods with no HOAs? No. Short answer, no. No, I'm joking. There are some very good neighborhoods without a HOA. Now, the thing is, your issue isn't the HOA. I'm telling you, your issue isn't the HOA. But I hear a lot of people say they have a problem with the HOA. Your problem may lie with how strict the HOA is. I know several communities that have an HOA, but they're not strict. They can pretty much do whatever you want within reason, right? You can't have an auto body shop next, like on your land or on your property. But for the most part, they're not hounding you. They're not going to be badgering you. They're not writing you up. You're not getting letters or citations. There's tons of those. But if you're looking for a new construction community with no HOA, I know that wasn't your question, but I know I get that question a lot. And that doesn't exist. Even homes that are sitting on a lot, on an acre lot in the community, they're like, I shouldn't have an HOA. This is all my land right here. No, those still have HOAs. Those still have HOAs. So, but reach out. There's tons of communities. Where are you trying to be? You're trying to be in Charlotte, North Charlotte, South Charlotte. And what is a great neighborhood? Because what I think is a great neighborhood, I'm not trying to be funny, you may not think is a great neighborhood, because sometimes people think you need pickleball courts, you need a pool, you need a tennis court, a basketball court in order for it to be a great neighborhood. What amenities or what would you consider a great neighborhood? And obviously, if you have all those amenities, typically you have an HOA because somebody needs to maintenance those amenities. Right? Not even typically. You're always going to have an HOA because somebody has to maintenance those amenities. Any other questions, comments regarding the Charlotte area? I know we're going up on an hour, but I did want to touch on those things. I wanted to touch on the culture, which I believe is prevalent in Charlotte, but I do hear a lot of people saying it's culturally anemic. But to them, I say, what have you really done? Have you been out in the city aside from going to the epicenter, which is kind of disappointing nowadays? Besides going to South End, which I'm not gonna lie, I like South End. But what have you done to explore the city? Because if you have, you will know that there's tons of history and culture in these pockets in the city. It may not just be prevalent. And to those of you who are looking to buy in the Charlotte area, I did this a while ago before COVID. Actually, I didn't do it. I took part in it. But I am going to do it and bringing it back, a bus tour. And this is going to be just for my buyers. So, and you have to have a pre-approval and all that to be on the bus. So that's the caveat. But a bus tour of Charlotte and the Charlotte area. We're going to do one per quarter, going over what's around. And you get a history lesson of Charlotte and the area as we go on this bus tour. It's going to be one day. So just carve out 6 hours or so we can look at new construction, so you can see what's available, hear incentives. But as we go to these new construction communities in Charlotte and surrounding, we're going to talk about how things have changed and the culture and the history of Charlotte. So I'm excited about that. The first one, you'll be seeing information on this channel, and just reach out to me. I can also send emails. And those of you that signed up for emails, please check your spam, because we send out a lot of emails. Sometimes they go into the spam folder, to where, again, we just want to educate. We want to educate and also put you in position to succeed, and to know, like, yes, you might be buying new construction in this community, but let's honor and have a deeper appreciation for what is around us and what was here, to allow us to, have this new construction. Because right now you have, I'm thinking of the Cherry neighborhood right outside of Uptown, and you see these brand new modern homes. I was going to say modern monstrosities, but I actually like them. But modern homes that don't really blend in with the aesthetic or culture of the neighborhood. And the Cherry neighborhood is a historically Black neighborhood that is being gentrified and changed. Now, granted, yes, there's rules in which and how things can change and how fast they can change, but it's taking place. But okay, you bought in this neighborhood, but let's take a step back and appreciate what this neighborhood is, and who lived in this neighborhood, as opposed to you only buying it because it's close to it's close to Uptown. It's within a scooter ride to Uptown to your office, right? So just want to make sure everybody has I can't make sure everyone, but I want to be a resource, and those that want to have an appreciation of where we're buying, where we're living, I want to extend that to you all. So every quarter, I'm going to do at least one bus tour, and we'll have a lender and also a community person. Hopefully, I have one person in mind, but this person I'm cool with. He's in high demand. He does a lot of stuff for the city. So I don't want to take him away from other stuff that he does in the community, to give us a bus tour. But think of some other people to be able to give us a tour, because I don't know it all, right? And I want to make sure we have somebody that is very knowledgeable that can share. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with me and bearing with me for coming on late. I think I was an hour late. Hour late. Typically, I want to do it at 5:30, but I started around 6:30 today. So I appreciate you all for bearing with me. I did not have a guest with me today. Again, because of me. People were open to do it, but I had stuff run over, and they couldn't make it work. So I will see you all next Monday, 5:30. That's the goal. And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. We'll see what's in the news, what's happening nationally, and how we can apply it to our lives and what's happening in our city. But this is your Inside Charlotte update for March 3rd. Thank you all again for rocking with me. I'm Sir Ashley, your real estate advisor, and I'll talk to you later.